My name is Rachel, and I'm married to Chris, and I have two children, Joshua, who is 5, and Martha, who's 2.
My name is April, and I have 4 children. They are aged 4, 6, 8, and 10.
So my name is Janet Argueta. I have 2 daughters and 1 stepdaughter. My stepdaughter is 12, and then my daughter Natalia. So Kalia is 12, Natalia is 7, and Elia is 1. Yeah, it's only 3, but it's already hard to keep track.
My name is Gloria Jacob. I have one girl of 16 years, turning to 17 soon.
Hi, I'm Brenda Dick. I'm Wes Dick's wife and the mother of 3 children, all of whom are married and have blessed us with 7 grandchildren.
My name is Travis Didi. Yeah, I hope to move to France and serve God there one day with my wonderful girlfriend.
My name is Esperanza. I have 3 kids, and I have a teenager. I have an adult already, and I have one 5 years old.
Hi, I'm Heather Nutt Brown, and I have 3 children. Our oldest son is 39, our second son is 37, and our daughter is 33. And they have brought 2 wonderful daughter-in-laws and a wonderful son-in-law to our family. And from the group of them, we have 6 grandchildren, and a 7th is due in October, which will probably be our last one, but that's okay. 7 is a good number, so.
Hi, my name is Laurel. I am a mother, a wife, a businesswoman, a pianist, a landscaper, a chef, a laundress, a chauffeur, all the things. I have a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old, both boys, and life is an adventure.
My name is Terry Croker.
My mother is someone that everyone knows, most people admire, most people like. She works hard. She doesn't sit still well. And she's a teacher. She needs to teach all the time. Every moment is an opportunity to guide someone to a better decision for themselves. Every moment is an opportunity to help someone grow. And she knows how to work hard. She's a good woman.
Because yeah, I think having a mom that was in ministry, and having a mom that was a believer, was, I think it was different than it would have been if she wasn't. And so it was a really good experience, because I look up to her, and I want to be a lot like her, right? And so I'm very blessed that I had a mom that was a believer and is a believer, and I continue to look up to her as a mother.
My mom's name is Marlene Didi, and she grew up on a farm just east of Calgary with 2 brothers and 1 little sister. And her dad was from Denmark, and her mom was a German lady, from a Mennonite German lady from Russia. And she's I feel like growing up on the farm, she's a hard worker, very strong in service, likes to do things and help people and garden and cook and use her Lenovo sewing machine, make things for people. But at the same time, she really learned about that relationship with Jesus from her mom, and who was a very devout Mennonite lady who love the Lord, and so she has her spiritual side, and she loves to have deep conversations too and talk about the Lord, as long as you can get her away from not having to yeah, help anyone with or feeling like there's no tasks that she really has to do, then she really or once those are done too or out of the way, she loves to have deep chats too. Yeah. And she loves to laugh too, and she can be very silly too.
That's a hard thing to discuss. My mom and I were never close. As I have tried to figure things out as I've grown older, I realized there was something not right. She wasn't able to show affection either verbally or physically. My parents would definitely have called ours a Christian home. We prayed before meals. We went to church every Sunday. But that's really about it. Faith wasn't talked about. It was too personal, I think, to talk about, or that's what I grew up thinking.
Well, I was 17 when I became a Christian, and we started to attend a new church at that time. And there was two couples that headed up the Sunday school and the youth department. And they kind of just took me under their wing, and they showed me what it was like to be a follower of Christ. And then in Bible college, our pastor's wife was an example to me. But none of these women ever sat down and taught me that this is what a Christian should do, or this is what a pastor's wife should do, this is what a godly woman is, or godly mother. I just learned from watching them and seeing how they lived their lives. So there was that. And then the woman in my life that wasn't my mother, but was like my mother for most of my life, was Larry's mom. So I always felt I was very fortunate to have her as my mother-in-law. She was a very kind, caring, hardworking, selfless person, and I just learned a lot from her. So I appreciated having her in my life for so many years.
Oh, that was my grandmother. She was an amazing woman. She showed me everything. She made me who I am today.
I would say that my grandma had a lot of impact in mothering me when I lived in Manitoba. I moved away when I was 18, very happy to be independent, but it was still helpful to have someone around that was like a mama. Um, to do my laundry when I came home from college on the weekends, um, to take me out for dinner sometimes.
My grandma, she was with me for little time and she teach me so many things.
Yes, my mother-in-law, best mother-in-law in the world. And her sister, who was our aunt and definitely a mother figure to us and a grandmother to our children when we lived away from family. Both women so gracious, so godly, so hospitable.
One lady, I think Janet stands out. She was on our missionary team in Morocco. But yeah, I don't think she was necessarily trying to be motherly, but she was just very caring and kind and gentle and just very easygoing. And she sometimes emails me now.
I feel like I have so many extra mothers. When we lived away in the UK and then also in Halifax, we had a lot of women in our lives who just kind of took us in, fed us good home cooked meals, and cared for us and for me in particular. When we lived in Halifax, it was a pretty lonely time, and the church we attended was led by some older ladies, maybe more grandmotherly than motherly, but they did a Bible study with me and just really looked out for me. And I would say the women at Abbeydale have also mothered me really well, particularly when my own mother was ill and in the hospital. I felt so cocooned by their love and care during that time, and that difficult time, I would say, made me more appreciative than I had ever been of the support and love of the family at Abbeydale.
After I got married, we didn't live close to my mother. And there was a lady in the Nazarene church. We called her Mrs. Beasley. A very nice lady. She was a little bit older than us, but came from very spiritual background. And when we had tough times when we moved to Lethbridge, um, she would sit down with both my wife and I, and and when we would tell her about some of the things that we were going through, um, she would she would give a spiritual application to that, which often helped us through.
She make me who I am today, being successful in every part of the life, being strong by myself. She cares for me. She was mostly telling me how life is going to be without her in the future. So now I have to be strong. I have to have God all the time. She encouraged me that there's nothing in this world or nothing can support me. Nobody can be with me. People might let me down, but let me know one thing, that I have God.
Recently, when we went home, uh, my mother gave me a little piece of paper that showed that I had gone to Sunday school for 1 year every Sunday. I hadn't missed a Sunday. And that was a huge influence, I believe, in my younger life. She would talk to us about the Bible, in particular Bible stories. Often in those days, we memorized verses in Sunday school and things like that, and it's a lot of those verses as short-term memory starts to go. It's a lot of those verses that you learn when you were younger that become really important to you, that come back to you in times of need, so to speak. She would have patience to wait for things to play out a little bit. When I was very young, it was more in the line of, oh, well, we'll give Terry enough rope, he can hang himself, and then I'll deal with what has to be done. Um, it was a good thing as I grew older to realize that, oh, I didn't have to solve everything right away. I could wait for a little bit. And so spiritually, that is one of the things that I liked about what she taught me. But my mother was a very compassionate person. And I think that's one of the things that she taught me. One of my memories that I have was probably when I was about 15 or so. I came home from a hockey game about between midnight and 2 in the morning. And since I had seen her last, I had gone to the dentist and got my mouth sewed up and whatnot. And my dad came in and said, "Oh," he said, "Is that you?" He says, "That looks like it hurt." And he went to bed. And my mom got up before I got to bed, and she looked at me, and she could immediately see that I was in a lot of pain. I had lost a couple of chiclets there on the ice, and she was ready to help me out and to put me on the straight and narrow and help me do whatever needed to be done at that point, including painkillers and an extra pillow or whatever it was that I would need. So she could see when there was pain, she was ready to help, and it was a genuine feeling that she had. And I think she passed that on to the family as such.
I think my mom was like the first, and I think the most important Christian person that I knew. I thought there was a God of love and peace out there because of her, the way she dealt with us, and then I think I really was inspired by her attitude towards serving and helping others, and not that she's always excited to do it. She does complain sometimes like others. I think I've been growing in service, and a big part of that is like my mom's example.
It has taken me a long time to learn how to hug people and you have to know how to hug people to really be part of this church. I learned quickly. Hugging my kids when they were when they were young, that was easy. And then just to help me in my learning curve, they each brought a spouse into the family who was a hugger. So between my in-laws and my church family, I have learned how to be more physically affectionate with my kids. I was very comfortable not talking about my faith to anybody. That is still difficult for me.
Mom was a wonderful example of faithfulness. She was very diligent about her Bible reading and scripture memorization, and we always just saw that it was part of daily life. And she instructed us a lot too. Mom had some teacherly gifts. So I know in the summer we would do book reports on different books of the Bible sometimes, and we learned a lot from her that way too. I think also as I grew older, she was open about conversations when I had questions or things I wasn't sure about. Um, she was open to having conversations about it and not, well, if you don't believe this, you're in big trouble. So that definitely made our home a safe place to figure out my faith for myself as I grew older. And there's one instance I really remember vividly. There was a cold snap, and it was probably well below -30, and everyone around was just complaining about the weather. But I remember that morning, as we were getting up and getting ready to go for the day, Mom had us empty the linen closet of any extra blankets because she wanted to donate them to the mustard seed. And I just thought, what a Christ-like reaction to adversity, to not complain about your own situation, but think about what you could do to better the situation of those around you.
I would hope that my kids would learn to trust God to do what is best for them. This is something that I've learned over many years. God has opened doors or closed doors, and I've been disappointed. And then he's opened other doors, and I feel like he wants me to go through, and I really don't want to go through. But I've learned to trust God that he knows me, he loves me, he sees the big picture, and that he'll go through those doors with me. So if my kids and my grandkids can learn early to just trust God, that his way is best, then that makes life easier, I think.
I think I wanted them to see how faith impacted life, how it helped when things were rough. But I hope they saw that God was more than just Sunday morning and more than bedtime prayers and mealtime prayers.
What I would like to tell my child is like to hold on Christ. There's no life in this world without God. There's no life, there's no love. It's only God's love. We have hope in God to have a better future. This life, we just like struggling to do everything to live what we can live, but without God, we can't do all these things. It's only Him.
I hope that my children will always remember me as, that mom that always prayed over them and always set the stage in the home and like a positive, I guess, environment.
So I want my children to know that God is gracious and patient, and I want them to trust him.
I think I would want one of the boys to really reflect on and remember that there is a great deal of stability and consistency and grounding and strength and peace in faith in Christ. And the other, I would want them to pick up that, yes, but also I would want them to pick up that there is great life and joy and there's so much more to life. There's more to Christ than a commitment and the steady life of working on that relationship, there's so much more.
So a lot of people say they see in their child the same weaknesses and struggles that they themselves dealt with. So, as a um, recovering perfectionist, I would like my children to know that faith has nothing to do with accomplishment or achievement, but that it's about transformation. And no matter how slow or painstaking it is, God is at work and He will finish that work in you.
So my 7-year-old, she's been homeschooling this last year, and so I've seen a lot of spiritual growth because we spend a lot of time together and a lot of time reading and Bible stories and stuff like that. And so I've seen a lot of growth in her. But it wasn't until I had a conversation with one of my, I guess one of her friends' moms, said, "Hey, I just want to let you know, like, your daughter's been talking to my daughter a lot about the Bible, and she's very curious now. And so I don't know, like, where do I get a Bible?" And so that for me was really, it was really beautiful, because sometimes I have a hard time doing that. And so Natalia actually wanted to gift her one of her Bibles, and so we dropped that off a couple days ago, and that was really, really beautiful.
Any unsolicited I love yous bring me a lot of joy. But I think one of the things that brings me the most joy is seeing our children imitate the good examples that they have had of love and care. So when one of them gets hurt and the other runs over and says, "Are you okay?" and gives them a kiss, that gives me a lot of joy. And also, Joshua has been a good example for us. Um, of prayer. So sometimes Chris and I will be discussing a situation that is discouraging or difficult, and Joshua will just say, "Well, let's pray about it." And right away, we're praying about it. And that has been really good for me, to remember that I don't have to wait until my designated prayer time, but that as we converse, prayer can just be part of that.
So, times that have brought me great joy as a mom are times when I see my kids being independently accomplishing things that I had dreams of for them, but I didn't know how to get them there. And I had to shelf the dream or just decide it wasn't my dream to have and I just needed to just be a mom and just love them. And then all of a sudden, of their own accord, they just took off. So my 7-year-old learned how to bike without training wheels of his own accord in 5 minutes. One day, it was just the day. He needed the tool. He was taking the training wheels off, and off he went. And ta-da, he could bike without training wheels. That needed to be his own thing. As long as it was me trying to help him, it was just endless pain. Ugh. But when your children will fly on their own accord because they chose to, they fly much better. Um, and when my kids read together, they sit and read together. I teach piano lessons, and I don't always have another adult watching them. And that sometimes ends with me leaving the piano lesson to go parent. But there have been times where I'm teaching a piano lesson, and the entire piano lesson, the two boys are sitting together, and the oldest is reading to the little the whole time. Half an hour of reading together, and that's beautiful. That's what you dream of your kids when they're little and you're just running around chasing little bodies, trying to keep them alive.
I have really enjoyed watching my sons become good husbands and good fathers, and my daughter become a good wife and a good mom. And I just really like people that my children have grown up to be.
When they were good and people commented that they were good, I was proud. But brought me joy. Joy is a different thing. Joy is still watching them grow up. They're all adults. Seeing the marvelous people that they turned into despite the mistakes I made. And to be friends with adult children that's a joy.
When I hear my children stand up for others and show care for others, that brings me joy.
Oh, that the time I look at my daughter, I feel so happy. Whatsoever the situation is, whatsoever the problem I'm passing through, But when I look at my child, I was so happy. I try to forget everything.
When my kids born, when they say the first words, when they graduate for kindergarten, for junior school, uh, when they, I don't know, it's so many times when they feel sad, even though, because when they feel sad, I'm be able to be there, and I be able to hugging them and telling them that everything is gonna be okay and I will be there for them.
What I find most difficult about being a mom is being patient and kind and nice. I am 2 plus 2 is for clean up the floor, do the laundry, get her done. I'm just not a feelies, lovies kind of woman. My husband teaches me to be kind and soft and lovey. That is not me, and that could be the Mennonite upbringing that I grew up in. It was not about feelings, it was about getting things done, and I absorbed it well. I live that way now, and so it's very challenging for me to be kind and patient and loving and lovey and loving and patient and
Yeah, one of the difficult part for me is the teenagers age. I wasn't prepared for that. And I always see my kids very lonely, very with me, very passionate, but when they growing, they change it.
It's not easy. Everything, being a mother, everything is difficult. Most of the things is difficult, especially when you are alone. It differs from when you have somebody by yourself or when you're a single mother. Most of the things, so you have to provide everything, you have to do everything. Like for me, it was so hard. I have to take my daughter to the daycare, I have to go to work, I have to bring her home, I have, everything was only me. So it was really so hard. And back home, we don't have cars. You have to do all this from bus to bus, from bus to bus, so you can get to what you want.
Each child is different. You have one and you think you begin to understand that one and have figured out child rearing. And then you have the second one that is night and day, totally different. And then you have a third one, and that one is different yet. And you realize there is no template for this. And one of my daughters had asked me how I figured out what to do. And I said, you fly by the seat of your pants. You do what you think is best at the time. I don't know, but why do children have to be different? You could understand them better if they were the same.
I think just always feeling like you're not doing enough. There's always something else. Yeah, like you might be doing great on this, but then there's that one thing that you're lacking in, and then your head's like, oh, I need to be better at that. So just feeling like you're not good enough for the job.
I think initially the complete and constant need for me by my children was surprising and overwhelming and draining. So those first weeks of motherhood are amazing and amazingly difficult. Once I got through that, I would say having patience in times of frustration when you're handling a 2-year-old tantrum because their straw isn't the right shade of orange. That's just so hard, and you just realize how much work the spirit still has to do in you.
The thing I found most difficult was letting go and letting them become independent. In their teen years, mid-teen, late teen years, they start to think for themselves and make their own choices, their own decisions, and I can't make as many choices for them anymore. And certainly now as adults, they make their own choices. And they don't always decide to do things the way that I would do. or they're no longer checkers on a checkerboard where I can move it. I have to stand back and let them make their own choices.
The relentlessness of it, without breaks, I lose perspective and I miss the blessing that it really is. Also, the constant decision making. I catch myself saying, just go ask your dad. Like I don't even want to. It's probably an easy question, but he's off work now. Go ask him.
Oh, girl, that's real. That's normal. You're not broken. Totally normal. It's a real part of being a mom. Whether it's because you're sleep deprived or you realize you're an epic failure as a mother when you realize your children are broken and you're like, oh crap, I could read 10 parenting books and maybe I'll do a better job. It's so real. It's so normal. It's tough. Being a mom's hard. And in fact, if it's not hard, you might be failing more than you know. If you know that you're failing and you're frustrated and you feel like you could do better, you're a good mom. It means you realize that there's more to learn, and that's not a bad thing.
I would say just take one day at a time. When you're faced with something that's troubling, it seems like it's a major concern at the time. But as time goes on and you look back, it becomes less major and more minor. And I think every stage of raising children, whether it's newborns or toddlers or adolescents or teenagers, it comes with challenges and it comes with blessings. And it really does go by fast. And before you know it, they're getting ready to leave home. So I say my advice would be just really enjoy it and don't sweat the small stuff.
Trite as it sounds, it will pass. When you're in the middle of it, it's a never ending, whether it's a struggle with a particular child or just with the responsibility of being a mother and whatever, but a new day comes. You can start over. A new year comes, you can start over. And things probably aren't as bad as you think. Children have weird memories about, I've apologized to adult children for things that happened when they were children, and they said they didn't remember. Comforting to me. They took small things that I didn't think meant anything, and that meant the world. And big things that I thought I had really screwed up, they didn't remember. So children's memories are kind.
The saying would probably come from the epitaph that we put on my mother's tombstone. And she was always very considerate to other people because she believed that probably every mother, every family, every person had something in their life that would create difficulty. And she often said this, she said, be kind because everybody has something. There isn't a person without problems in this world. And I would just encourage you that time is a masterful healer and a teacher for whatever is going on in your life.
The days are long, but the years are so short. And I only have a little bit of experience with that. But I look back and I'm like, how did 7 years go by, right? With my older one. And so there's always a next season and it's always there, something to look forward to.
What I have to tell that mother is just to be strong. There's no any situation in this world that is permanent. Everything is short in this world. So the only thing is to focus her life on God and to bring herself out of that stress. That's how life is. Sometimes it's part of life.
For anyone, knowing Jesus as your great love is I think one of the most important sides of who God is. You're a child of the Lord and you can have every spiritual blessing.
Because there are so many things to be discouraged or overwhelmed about. But I think I think the main thing I try to remind myself is that God does ask us to love our children as He does, but ultimately they're in His hands, and He cares for them even more than we do. I just finished putting Joshua to bed, and I said, "Do you know how much I love you?" And he said, "A lot, but not as much as God does." And I'm so thankful for that, because it's not, I can do my very best, but ultimately they're in better hands than mine.
Ask for help and be sure to have some fellow mom friends in your circle.
So in hindsight, one of the things I'd say to parents who are struggling, oh, clean less, play more, relax.
One of my favorite stories about motherhood is actually in Luke chapter 2, when Jesus is at the temple and his parents leave, and it takes them 3 days to find him again, because it's a good reminder to me that Mary and Joseph were not perfect parents either. And still God chose them for his very own son. So he's chosen us all, even with our imperfections, to parent our children the way that we will.
Most of the time, the story I read, I always encourage myself is Joshua 1 from 8 to 9, that don't let the words of this to depart from your mouth, or be strong and courageous, for the Lord your God is with you always. So I know through all these things, the Lord was with me always, because he was giving me peace, he was giving me hope. Everything about my God was so amazing. That's the only voice that was encouraged me by then. And then even if you can read Hosea 6:2, if 1 to 3, it talks about there's no any situation in this world that is permanent. Everything in this world has an end. That was the very strong voices that I was always encouraging myself with.
Yes, there is a lot of story, but the Bible encouraged me to be strong and to be in all my life, even like my personal life, in my relationship with my husband, with my friends, with the life outside, and with my kids is Joshua 1, just in one night. And I strong, be encouraged, and remember that whatever things looks like, God will be with you. So. And even Corinthians, the Bible about the love, what the love means. And there is an story in Samuel 1, that Anna's story encouraged me a lot. She couldn't have a kids, no? And she prayed for her kids, and she prayed and prayed, and she told God that if he given a child to her, she will give it that child to God, and that's a Samuel. So it's important that when you have a kids, the first thing you have to do is present to God and ask for witness, ask for I don't know how to say in English, for knowledge to how to be a parent. So ask for help, and say, and a kid is a God present. So I love that story for that and how she did, because I remember that at the beginning she was very sad. She was hopeless, but when she started looking for another way how to get a kid, so she looked for God and she asked for help to him. So it was so good. So that's why. All the time when I feel like I can't more, I say, oh my God, why? I remember that and I say, I know you give me that kiss for a reason. So please help me. Help me. That's it.
A Bible verse that I try to apply to all aspects of my life is Psalm 46:10. It says, be still and know that I am God. I need to keep reminding myself that I don't have to fix everything. And in fact, I can't fix everything. And as much as I can't fix everything, there's nothing that God can't do. So when I am worried about something or concerned or I have a problem, I continually have to remind myself to just leave that with God and let him take care of it.
This last year, I've really clung on to 1 Corinthians 16:14, and just do all things in love. And I feel like that one is really hard when you have a newborn and you are trying to homeschool and trying to navigate, motherhood through a pandemic. And so we actually put that one up on our board, and every day when I'm getting really frustrated, I just think like, I'm not perfect, but I'm like, this is the goal, like all things, trying to do them with love, because ultimately, like, that's what it is, right? Like, that's the gospel.
Right from the beginning, being overwhelmed, and just how can I be trusted to keep these people alive? It was God will supply all my needs. He will give me strength. He will help me learn how to cook, to do laundry, to garden, to all the things that mothers do. God does supply our needs. And then later, as kids get older, then you're not so concerned anymore. I don't think about meeting physical needs, but meeting their spiritual needs, their emotional needs. And with my upbringing, that was not natural. And so then anxiety and being very concerned about how are they going to get through this? How's our relationship going to get through this? So then another verse from Philippians, do not be anxious about anything, but in everything, by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. And the peace of God, which passes all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus.
I'm reminded of the care that God has for us who are mothering. Isaiah chapter 40, verse 11 reads, He tends his flock like a shepherd. He gathers the lambs in his arms and carries them close to his heart. He gently leads those that have young.
I was thinking of moms in the Bibles, and there's a number of them, but the one I often think about is Mary. I think how hard it must have been for her to see Jesus do these things that he had to do, that mothers like to protect their kids, like to keep them safe, want them to be want to take care of them. And she had to just stand back and let this plan unfold that God had for him. And I'm sure that wasn't easy for her. And to a lesser degree, I feel like we do that with our kids too. We need to stand back and let them grow into the people that they want to be. And hopefully that's the same person that God wants them to be too. So
I have a sister that she has two kids and she don't have husband and she doesn't have, most of the time she doesn't have job, but she believe, she pray. And I think so many things I had learning from being a mom is because she encouraged me. And she's younger than me, but she's a good role for me because when I'm sad, when I say I can't more, I talk to her. I talk with God and then I call in her, and she always has some word for me. The pastor's wife, she's a good example for me too because she's very prayer girl. She's always encouraging good thing. She's a real person. She's with so many mistakes, but she believes in God and she encourages, and she's always there also for us when we needed her. So, yeah.
I have one fellow mom friend who showed me never to withhold love from my children. I have another friend who reminded me that if my child is having a tough time, they may just need a hug. Two simple but very profound ways to care for my children, to love them.
There was a woman who was nearly a peer. She was about 5 years older and just a little further along the child rearing track. And her name was Hazel. she is still my role model. We are still friends this many years later. When our daughter Carmen, our oldest, was born, their youngest twins were born. Those twins were the youngest of 4 in that family. So she had 4 preschoolers and was holding everything together. She did things in church. She was a marvelous mother, a marvelous everything, and an amazing friend. Her spiritual life was also admirable. I remember going over there when the kids were about 2, and I thought maybe they were moving. The chairs were all up on the tables, and everything was just clean, Spartan. Nothing was lying around. And she told me it was because of the twins. They climbed on everything. She had caught them helping each other, boosting each other up onto the chair, onto the counter, and onto the top of the fridge. She knew how to get Vaseline out of kids' hair and all those useful tricks. And then the other thing, I had asked her once, how do you find time though to pray and have devotions? And she says, well, I keep my Bible on the kitchen counter. I put a piece of saran wrap over it. I read when I can. God knows that I pray in very quick sentences.
So a friend of mine has a prayer chair, and she has sticky notes all over the wall of different things that she's praying for. And when she sits in it, her children know to leave her alone. She sits in that chair, she'll read her Bible, she'll pray there, but that is her prayer chair. And when mama's there, you leave her alone. And I think that's really beautiful in the busyness of life to have that kind of consistent commitment to it, so much so that your children know when they see mama there to leave her alone. I don't think I do anything consistently enough for my children to recognize a pattern in anything I do.
I would say my friend April, who had her 4th child shortly after I had my first, is a really good example to me of godly mothering. She has patience that I have not seen in any other human being when she deals with children. It's really amazing and encouraging and challenging for me to watch her parent. She is very intentional about her relationships with each of her children. And I see the way she encounters challenges and works on different aspects of her parenting and reads and prays, and um, she really throws herself in. It's not just something she does, it's something that she cares about and does really intentionally. And it's important to her to share her faith with her kids and to work on the fruit of the spirit or learning different things with her kids. And I think that's a really great example for me.
They love my children. It's simple as that, but it's a big impact. They know my children by name, and even if they get some of them mixed up, they try to straighten them out. They greet them. They ask how they're doing, what they're interested in. The Sunday school teachers have picked prizes applicable to my children's interests as rewards for memorizing Sunday school verses.
I think that nursery room is a big help. I use that nursery room every Sunday, I think. I love that I can still hear the gospel, hear the word, and, not have my child running on the, the chair. So for me, that's like the best thing.
The church was a very strong impact in my life. The church always checking on me. That was the best thing. When sometimes you feel lonely and you find a member from your church just texting you or calling you, talking to you, you feel so happy. They're always checking on me and showing me love. And I know that I have somebody when I feel like I have nobody, but the church was there always for me.
It's been helping me a lot, to be honest, because like I say, in my past, I didn't had a good mom role, a good experiences. And the only way, I'm not perfect. I have so many mistakes and I keep in doing so many mistakes in my life. But knowing about the Bible, knowing about God, knowing about this spirit life is the only tool I had and I still have to being a mom, to keep it up.
When we were younger, it was always nice, the relationships that we had at church. There were always other young families that were in the same sort of situations that we were in, and we were all working towards the same goals. So we could encourage each other and, just be with each other, other families. And then there were also families that were further along in life than we were. And we were able to look up to them and, talk with them and see that they had gone through the same sorts of things that we were going through. So just the relationships at church have always been an encouragement.
This one mom, she really was an encouragement to me. That was Alex. And so she was a great encouragement because, we were kind of same minded, and we kind of had the same goal. And so it was really nice to, kind of chat and connect and like just talk about the Bible and like raising kids, and that was beautiful. But unfortunately, there was only one other mom I ever really got to do that with until recently. But now I'm excited because there's a lot of moms and I can do that a lot more now.
What got me through when I had 3 preschoolers for a while and young children were my female friends. I had a good group. We were living in Saskatoon. We had a good group of women with young children. And the same thing happened when we moved here. A good, solid group of young mothers, and we could get together and share our struggles, laugh with each other, make each other laugh. From the beginning, when our kids were able to go to Sunday school, they did. We wanted them to know the old Bible stories, to experience Sunday school, to make friends there. When we moved to Calgary, our children were from grade 1 to grade 5, and Abbeydale Church just took them in. It seemed like we all shared everybody's children, and it's so cool. My oldest is 40, and there are friends in the church who remember when she was in grade 5. The Sunday school teachers were so good, were so patient and so good with the kids. And then later the youth leaders, and the kids had the experience of going on a trip to Mexico to build a house. Back in kids club though, they got to learn how to be responsible. We had junior leaders back in those days, so they could learn how to be in charge a little bit. But then the youth group, that was, I think, what really got our kids through, having a strong group of Christian friends that were just always there. And they didn't go to the same schools. So often schools were difficult, I think. But to have that core group, and it makes me so happy that all of them still are friends with some of the people that they knew back in youth group. Praise band was a big thing then. We had many kids who were just beginning to play instruments, and they were welcome to come and try and do their best. And that was such a confidence boost, and also just showing them how to serve, how to work in a group, serve with a group.
Church is so encouraging for me as a parent. And I know the Sundays that my children are the most disruptive and noisy and difficult are the Sundays when I have people going out of their way to tell me how much they appreciate my children, how much they love to see them. And that helps a lot, especially on the days when I think, should I even bother going when all I'm doing is managing this little one's behavior? But it is really helpful to feel as though we're all wanted there as we are. I appreciate the way the church family has made church a place of warmth and welcome for our kids. I think that's really important. They love going there. Sunday school has been huge. Joshua's memorizing so many Bible verses, and I appreciate other people instructing him alongside of us. That means a lot to have so many great teachers in his life. And I would say overall, I appreciate the way the church. I don't feel like the church family is standing in judgment of me as a parent. I feel like they are loving my children alongside of me, and I think that's really special and valuable.
And keep praying. I think praying is the best thing we do to help someone.
The only thing I need the church to help me with, just to pray for me and my family, and then to check on us, because sometimes I feel scared, because this country, this world actually is coming to an end, and there's a lot of things happening, and nobody needs, you don't have to like see your kids going astray, or your kids having most hearing from the outside than from the inside. So just need a prayer from the church for my family.
I would really appreciate some parenting classes.
It doesn't end when your kids graduate. It doesn't end when they leave home. It doesn't end when they get married. It doesn't end when they have children of their own. It doesn't end. And that's good, because there is a lot of joy, a lot of fun, a lot of good. And yes, there are still anxious moments.
The only way to be a good mother is looking for help and God, support everything. Like, I don't know how to say, like, for me, my strength come from God. And it's the only way we can succeed.
I love being mom, and I always have. So it's hard work. It's hard work, but it's very rewarding too. So I wouldn't have chosen another path.
No one warns you how hard it's going to be a mother. Nobody warns you how much you're going to have to change and grow to be a mother. Nobody tells you that as you're growing the baby in the belly and they're like, oh, that's so fun, you're going to have a baby. They never warn you about the immense amount of emotions and challenging life choices and decisions and actions and personal growth that you have to go through to do that. Had I known just how hard it is and how interesting the journey has been, I still would have done it. I would have done it a little younger. But you will never grow like when you are a parent. There is little else that I have ever done, even being a fur mom. There is nothing else that I have done that has challenged me and made me grow as much as being a mother.